Somewhere between the silence of the desert and the sound of one's own shame, Marshal Elias Cade rode into Dry River Crossing beneath a sky the color of old bone. The town hadn't changed. Sagging porches, a church with a cracked bell, dust laid everything like forgotten grief. Elias had chased thieves across 3 counties only to return to whispers louder than gunfire. She came in alone, muttered Hattie from her rocking chair outside the saloon. Didn't even ask for a room. Just water. Elias didn't stop to ask questions. He never did. Words had a way of bending things. He stepped into the saloon, the heat trailing him like guilt. Inside, it was dim and dry, thick with the smell of old whiskey and older mistakes. She sat near the back. A woman, mid-30s maybe, though the desert had a way of making years uncertain. Her shirt was stained with dust and blood, fresh at the side, just under the ribs. She cradled a glass of water like it might vanish. Her eyes, steel gray, ringed with exhaustion, didn't meet anyone's. The other patrons watched her like she'd walked in carrying a thunderstorm. Elias leaned against the bar, studying her reflection in the fly-specked mirror. She didn't look dangerous. She looked like someone who'd survived danger and hadn't yet decided if that was a blessing. He spoke low to the barkeep. "Name?" The man shrugged. Didn't give one. Outside, a bell began clanging, frantic, uneven. A shout echoed from the square. "Town hall's on fire." Elias moved before his coffee hit the counter. Smoke unfurled like a banner above the rooftops. A crowd had already gathered, useless and wide-eyed. The flames clawed at the wooden facade of the town hall, windows shattering, heat pulsing outward like a living thing. "Children are inside," someone screamed. He broke into a run. So did she. The stranger was faster. Without hesitation, she shoved past the bystanders and slipped through a cracked window like she'd done it before. Elias cursed and followed, the smoke clawing at his lungs. Inside was chaos, soot, flame, terrified sobs. He found a girl under a desk and pulled her free. She found 2 more cowering near the back, dragging them one by one through falling embers. When they emerged, coughing and bleeding, the town watched in stunned silence. Elias turned to thank her, but she staggered, hand pressed to her ribs. "You're hurt." "I've been worse," she muttered. He moved to steady her. She recoiled, then relented. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she raised her shirt just enough to show the wound, and more. The burn scars were old, but unmistakable. Arcs and lines carved with purpose. A brand. Elias froze. "Who did that to you?" Her voice was low and hollow. "The man you used to call Admiral." And just like that, Elias Cade's past rose from the ashes and stared him in the face. The days that followed the fire hung thick with heat and suspicion. Clara Mercy, she'd finally spoken her name, flat and without pride, refused the doctor, refused a room, refused to stay still. She spent her mornings mending tack at the livery, her afternoons cleaning ash from her clothes by the creek, and her nights sleeping beneath the overhang of the abandoned chapel. No one told her to leave, but no one welcomed her either. Elias watched. He didn't mean to, but he did. Watched how she worked like she owed the earth something. Watched how she flinched at sudden movement, how she scanned windows before stepping into open space. Every action measured, every silence earned. The townsfolk kept their distance. Rumors bred quickly in Dry River. Some said she was a fugitive. Others whispered she'd cast a spell over Elias. One child swore she'd seen her talking to ghosts beneath the burned timbers of the town hall. Elias knew the truth was simpler and uglier. Pain leaves marks. Most just don't wear them outside their skin. She caught him one morning, watching her calm a skittish mare. "You always stare at people you've failed?" she asked. Elias didn't flinch. Only the ones who walked out of fire like they weren't afraid to bang. She turned back to the horse, fingers gentle on the animal's trembling neck. "I wasn't brave. I just knew what it felt like to be trapped." The words sat heavy between them. He broke the silence. "I need to know what Silas Crane did to you." Clara's jaw tightened. "You already know." "I knew what he did to others. Didn't stop him. That's not the same." "It is to me." She didn't speak again until the sun dipped low. Then, without warning, She rolled up her sleeve and showed him the numbers burned into her arm. Not letters. Numbers. A ledger's mark. He kept account of who he owned and who he broke. Elias looked away. Shame sat thick in his chest. That brand on my ribs. He said it to keep men off me, 'cause I belonged to him. Her voice never rose. It didn't have to. That night, a rider came through town, dust-covered, hard-eyed. Said he was looking for someone. Didn't give a name, but handed the barkeep a silver token etched with an anchor. Elias saw it and felt the blood drain from his face. He'd seen that mark once before, carved into a rifle butt, worn by Silas Crane's private enforcers. The admiral didn't just survive the war. He'd built a kingdom from its ashes. The rider walked past Elias without pause and stopped at Clara's fire. She didn't move. He tipped his hat. He wants you back. She stood slow, every muscle wound tight. Tell Silas Crane, she said, voice like dry lightning. If he comes here, he better bring more than one man. The riders smiled. We already did. The riders came at dawn. 5 of them, each armed with the kind of confidence men wear when they believe the law belongs to them. Dust kicked up behind their boots as they dismounted in front of the chapel where Clara had been sleeping. She was already on her feet, rifle in hand, coat pulled over her shirt like armor. Elias stood across the street, his badge pinned low beneath the shadow of his coat. He hadn't worn it proper in weeks, not since the fire. But this morning, it caught the sun. The lead rider, broad-chested, dark eyes, a cruel slant to his mouth, stepped forward, dragging his fingers along the hitching post like he was choosing a tune. Marshal Cade, he drawled. Didn't expect to find you playing shepherd. Elias didn't answer. The man turned his gaze to Clara. Silas says she's his. Property recovered. No hard feelings. She's no one's, Elias said, voice steady. That ain't what the brand says. Clara stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but it cut like wind through canyon stone. You want to take me? You better come with rope and shovel, 'cause one of us ain't leaving upright. The man smiled, pulling off his gloves. You always had fire, Clara. That's what he liked best. I burned it out of me, she said. The tension snapped. Guns cleared leather. The chapel's quiet gave way to thunder. Elias moved without thought, placing himself between Clara and the nearest rider. 2 shots cracked, one finding his shoulder, the other missing wide. Clara dropped to one knee and returned fire. Clean, precise, trained not in showdowns but survival. By the time the smoke cleared, 3 of the 5 lay in the dirt, groaning or still. One rider fled, disappearing over the ridge. The lead man, bleeding from the leg, reached for his pistol again. Clara stepped forward and leveled her rifle squarely at his heart. You kill me, he spat, and he'll come himself. She didn't blink. Good. But her finger didn't pull the trigger. Instead, she lowered the barrel. You tell Silas Crane something, she said, voice quiet now, intimate like a prayer. You tell him I remember every word he said, every lie he used to twist girls into ghosts. And I'm not a ghost anymore. The man looked at Elias, bewildered, desperate. Elias stepped forward. You'll ride out. You'll carry that message. And if he sends more men, they won't come back either. The man limped to his horse and left without a glance back. Later, Clara sat on the chapel steps, Elias beside her, his shirt stained dark from the wound. Neither spoke for a long while. You didn't have to stand in front of me, she murmured. I did, he said. Maybe not for you. Maybe for the man I didn't stand in front of, back then. She looked over, her face soft for the first time. He'd be proud of who you are now. Elias shook his head. Maybe. I just hope you are. She didn't answer, but she didn't leave.